So in addition to being able to preview your before and after of any particular thing that you're doing in a panel, there's one additional type of preview called a clipping preview. And what do I mean by that? So when you're adjusting things like exposure or recovery or fill light using the sliders over here on the right, you often want to pay attention to when you're going to be losing detail either in the highlights or in the shadows. So let's take a look at this. If I turn on the highlight clipping preview, I'll do that by over here in the histogram. This is a graph of the tonal values in your particular image. There are two little widgets here in the upper right-hand corner and the upper left-hand corner. If I click on that little white icon there and hover over it, it tells me highlight clipping warning. And I can see there's actually a keyboard shortcut for that, the letter O. If I mouse over the black icon, it'll give me a tooltip telling me that's the shadow clipping warning. And I can see that the tooltip there shows me that the letter U is the shortcut for that. So I'm going to press the letter O, and you'll see this scary looking red overlay happening on your image here. And you're like, what the heck is that? Why is that a feature? What that's showing you is the areas in your image that are blowing out to completely white, where there's no detail in the image. And this is a nice visual aid here. It lets you figure out how far you're supposed to slide one of these sliders to get things back to being fixed. Or the opposite direction. If you start dragging in a direction, you start seeing red appear, you know that you should probably back off that particular adjustment. So let's see this in action. If I take the recovery slider and start dragging it to the right, you can see that all that red overlay, that warning blowout preview, is now gone because I don't have just solid white pixels in my image anymore, which is kind of cool. Let's turn on the shadow preview. I'll press the letter U to turn that on. And again, I can turn that on by clicking on the black icon there in the histogram as well. You can see I just have a little trace of shadow detail that's going solid black. You can see a little blue near her pants here. Let's really make this a little bit worse so you can see the blue showing up in detail here. If I move the exposure slider a little bit, or if I move the black slider, it's probably a better way to do it. If I make more of the image black, you'll see where in the image it's going to solid black and I'm losing detail in the shadows. So again, this is called the clipping previews or the clipping warnings. Red for blown out highlights, blue for too dark shadows. You can toggle them on and off by pressing the letter O and pressing the letter U respectively. So if you happen to open up an image and you forgot about it and you see just a sea of red on your image, it's because that clipping preview is still on. You can just toggle it back off by pressing one of those keys.